Hey everyone, I wanted to do this review. I've seen this movie and I really do like it. It was called, well, now see, look at me. It's called It Was Always You. Sorry, my favorite Tyler. And let me give you the description of It Was Always You. A woman engaged plans get thrown into disarray when her fiance free spirit brother returns home. So let's get into it. This movie came out in 2021. And if you haven't already, Lifetime does play this movie a lot. And I was so excited to do this review because, like I said, I've done watched this movie before, but I was like, let me watch it again and let me do like a really recap and really like dig into it. So we got David. He is played by Tyler Haynes. David is his character. Please listen to that again. David is Tyler's character. And Elizabeth is played by Erin. I'm not really good with people's names, so I'm not going to try her last name because I know some people can pronounce it, but I'm not even gonna try. And we have Elizabeth is engaged to David's brother George. George and Elizabeth both have a dental practice. The movie opens up where she is looking at one of her patients' teeth, and he told her about an expedition him and his wife had went on for 6 weeks. And she gets the good idea to, tell her fiance George about it. George is not up to like new things, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. George is boring, in my opinion. I like the actor, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. George I didn't really care for his character. I didn't because, like I said, Elizabeth wanted to do fun and exciting things, and George was like, "Oh, let's not do all this," because she was like, George, how about we go zip lining? How about we do this? And he was like, I don't know how people, he said, I know a lot of people die from zip lining. He said, I don't know how many, but it's a lot. I know it is every year. And she really wanted to, adventure and do like, go on like a 6 weeks expedition for like, for their honeymoon. And George was not down for it. So Elizabeth kind of let that idea go. She kind of like dimmed herself when it came to doing stuff. She always was like, if George doesn't like it, I'm not going to do it. And I get that. That's a good woman. But I'm going to go ahead and say, if you want to go out there and rock climb, you want to go do expeditions around the world, go for it. Don't let no one hold you back. And I love the fact, well, let me get into it. So they go home to George's hometown because her and George grew up together. She grew up with all his family. He has a sister named Louise. So it's Louise, George, and David. I think David probably was the middle child, the baby, or Louise might have been the baby, but I know George was the oldest. And they were going home. Their mom had a surprise birthday party, which she ended up finding out because Elizabeth was a planner. She always had stuff mapped out to the T. And I guess she did that because she was with George, and George was also like one of those big persons. I'm gonna stick to the schedule. That's what he looked like. And she saw it when she took the list from Elizabeth's binder, and she said, "Oh dear, oh dear." And Elizabeth is not catching on, and she said, "I won't tell about the surprise birthday party about me." She's like, "Oh," she's like, I can act surprised, and it was so cute, their little moment they had. And I even liked when Elizabeth first came into the house. Louise wouldn't hug George, but she hugged Elizabeth, and it was so cute. You kind of was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna hug you. I'm looking for my keys, or whatever." But she said, "I will hug her though," so it was like cute, whatever little cute moment. The grandma cracked me up, always does. Louise ends up going to go get the brother from the airport. And she's like, David's coming home? She's like, yeah, for the party. Well, the thing, whatever they was trying to hide it from their mom, whatever, she already knew. So she went to, I think she saw David the next day. Yeah, she saw David the next day because what had happened was George had ended up leaving and going back home because one of their patients had called, and George is always about patients, so he didn't want to abandon anybody. And she said one of the other doctors could have handled it. That she told him in the beginning of the movie. She was like, if anything happens, like, another doctor can handle it. And he was like, well, you could tell he didn't want to leave his patient. He's a person that's really dedicated to his job. And I like that he was dedicated to his job, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this: if you pass away, your patient's still gonna be there. So take a break. It's okay to take a break. And that's just my motto. And this is not even coming from anybody. If you're dedicated to your job, but also say this, it's always good to take time for yourself. So George ended up going back home. Well, this is before the party. She went to the ice cream place to go get some ice cream, and she runs into David. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it's kind of like a love hate relationship together. I would say because like it's like I tease you, you tease me, or whatever. You can always say it was like she was kind of uptight, but I'm gonna go ahead and say maybe she always liked David, but she kind of hid it and just went for George because maybe David was the one outgoing and this and that. So they have their little jokes or whatever. Well, he has his little jokes and she's really not feeling it. He's like, bring it in. He hugged her or whatever. And I love that he softened up the mood or whatever. And Elizabeth wasn't having it. She wasn't. And let's jump into the party part. So they go to the party. They hide all of the people, all the guests and stuff. And the mom walks in. It was like, surprise. It's like, oh my dear, a party for me? And it was like, and Louise like, somebody told her. And David knows that Elizabeth did it. So he was like, it was me. I did it. Because Elizabeth was about to come clean because everybody was about to say, like, who told? Who told? And David stepped in and said, I like that. He stepped in and said that he did it. And they kind of like let it go or whatever. It was like, oh, David, we knew it was you or something like that. And so Elizabeth's like, I did it, whatever. And, I like I like how David was. David was like, he was carefree. He didn't care what people think about him. He was a traveler. He lived and basically he woke up every day like, hey, I'm gonna go adventure and go do this. And he was actually, I think he would say he was something about a teacher. Now I only watched the movie twice because I don't watch it. I'm trying to watch everything else before I try to keep watching a movie repeatedly. But I did watch Three Wise Men and a Baby a couple times because I did like the movie because it was so funny. The scene where the when Andrew says to Tyler, those are, he said, you didn't text us back. He said, yeah, they're just usually cat emojis. He was like, don't let him break your spirit. Man, that thing has me rolling every time. So back to the movie. So George ends up going back because of a patient's calling him. And when he does try to come back, there's a storm that hit that night and it messed up the bridge because they lived on an island. Like you had to go across the bridge to go to where they was at, their little town. Well, it's not even a little town. It's like its own little place, like island or whatever. So he couldn't go because the bridge was out. So David and Elizabeth had to do activities that they were supposed to do. She was supposed to do with David, like planning their wedding. They did the registry together. They did the song together. He danced with her, and I could tell then. I think that I'm gonna say this. I really think Elizabeth always had feelings for David, but she kind of just thought it was just something like she just couldn't stand him. But it was not that. It was just there was feelings there, and you could tell David had feelings for her too. But he respected his brother, and I really liked how even though they didn't rush to get in a relationship, and just the quote he gave her, and because they was watching a movie together, and it's a quote that everybody loves. And I want to quote it right, so I'm not gonna quote it because I may quote it wrong. Because mind you, I only watched the movie twice, so yeah. But I just loved Elizabeth and David together, even though that was George's fiance in the beginning. But I loved how even after she broke it off with George, she took a year to herself and she traveled. And then Louise and the young gentleman, let me look him because I want to make sure I say his name right. The young gentleman, she got engaged to him and she got married. His name was Eugene. He was a male character. He was feeling Louise. And how do I put it? He had been trying to talk to Louise and Louise was not really feeling it or whatever. And I loved how Elizabeth got her. She's like, he looks like he's thirsty, but we just made a fresh pot of coffee. Won't you pour him some? So Louise ends up pouring him some. He says she said he's been doing like deliveries all day, so maybe he's hungry. Offer him some pie, and Louise offers Eugene a slice of pie, and Elizabeth holds up the fork and she takes the fork from her and she gives it to Eugene, and he takes a bite. He's like, "This is good. This is you." And Elizabeth's like, "Oh no, that's all Louise." And they had their little moment, and I loved how they got together because at first, when she had first came home, and well, the second day when she had been home at their house, Elizabeth came downstairs and Louise was fixing her flowers. And Eugene came in to bring the mail and he was trying to do something. She was like, Eugene, I'm just very busy. And Louise was like, oh yeah, he likes you. She said he likes everybody. He's a male guy. And she's like, well, I don't want him to, look at me different because I don't know how much a how much a first class stamp costs. And she ended up asking Eugene later on in the movie how much does a first class stamp cost, and he tells her, "I'm glad you asked." I'm like, oh my god, that's so sweet. And I love when movies like that. I love movies that are so like lovey dovey. I do. I know that the world is not like that, so it's good to get escape away from all the bad things that are happening in the world, and you see good movies like this. And I love that he said, "I have always loved you," and I was like, oh my god. Or how he took the book out of his dad's office, and it was Italy. The name of the book was called Italy, and she wrote what she wanted to, like she wanted to go to the Colosseum. Okay, I said it wrong, but she wanted to go to all these places overseas, and he said he wrote something in the book and said he wanted to go with her. And I was like, oh. Or how he helped her climb the treehouse, because at first, because she would never go in the treehouse because she's like her dad wouldn't let her, or it was her mom. It was either two, mind you. Did so. And she climbed into the treehouse and she made it, and he was so happy for her. And I loved the fact that David was so passionate and so great with Elizabeth, and he really awoken that inside of her about, hey, go out on an adventure, go live your life. Because she was asking George, when George had came back after the bridge had got down, and he came back, and it was weird because, like I said, he came back and he I think he hugged. I know he hugged her. I think they were trying to kiss. I think she was trying to kiss him, but he ended up kissing her on the cheek. And you could tell the love wasn't there. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, I think it was kind of like she was just like, okay, George is, he wants to marry me, and then all this stuff. But I'm glad that she stood up for herself. She's like, I want more, and she wants to do all these things, and George didn't want to. He's like, was there anything when she gave him back the ring? He was like, was there? But when she gave him the ring, he was holding it. He's like, is there anything to change her mind? And she was like, no. And I like the fact that, George didn't whimper in his sorrows. He ended up going with their assistant that was at the dental firm. And I'm going to go ahead and say, when I first saw them together, I was like, that why they weren't together? Because actually, they kind of fit each other. In my opinion, they fit each other. Him and Elizabeth wasn't. Elizabeth looked like she wanted to go out on an adventure. George was like, I'm the type of person, I'm happy with the books, coming home, reading the books. And there's nothing wrong reading the books, like I said, but he looks like he doesn't want to adventure until he's like, oh, he looks like he wants to be like a family person. I work from 9 to 5, come home, spend time with the wife and the kids, take a shower, go to bed, all that stuff. Elizabeth is the type of person, I want to adventure before I have kids. And she wanted to do that. And George was not interested in doing that. And I mean, I don't know why George was like that, but he was like, he was set in his ways. He was like, I'm going to work, I'm going to do this. He said, because he was so excited about when he signed him up for a convention. I'm looking like, George, you're not reading the room. Because she ain't excited about that adventure, even though she said, yeah, whatever. Because before they went to the house, they had traveled to the hometown when they both were traveling with him. Well, she was traveling with him for his mom's surprise birthday party. She wanted to stop somewhere. And she was like, she wanted pie, but she had to finish the oyster tray or whatever. And George he wanted to go. He was ready to go. And I was just like, George, you can't even have a moment with your fiance. Come on now. And I really felt bad for her. It was like she was trapped, and I'm glad she didn't marry George because, like I said, she'd been trapped in a marriage. And I like the fact, even though we saw that they got together, George was not mad that they got together. And I want them to do a part 2 and show the wedding. It was always you two, part 2, where they get married and they have a family, or they're traveling together. They don't even have to get married, right? Well, it's been a couple years because it came out in 2021. So they can plan a wedding. It could be extravagant overseas and it'd be beautiful. I would love that for Elizabeth and David. And I really love this movie. And it's really sweet. And I give it a 10 out of 10. 100 out of 100. It was a good movie. It's a good love story. I know a lot of people kind of dislike when it plays so much, but it's okay. I don't always watch it because, like I said, I don't watch it all because I just lied. I only watched it twice. So, yeah. But I had to take out some time so I could do It Was Always You because I know that is a Hallmark fan favorite. And if you have not watched It Was Always You, watch it. I know a lot of people do not like the movie, and it's okay because, like I said, there's a lot of hit and miss movies. Because here lately, it's some hit and miss movies that are good and some are not. And I'm gonna go ahead and say people are entitled to their opinion. You can't get mad about somebody, but it's okay to say the movie is bad. It's okay. It's okay to say the movie is good, and it's okay you didn't like it because the acting was not what you liked. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You may not like it, somebody else may like it. It is what it is. But you guys have a wonderful day and check out It Was Always You with Tyler Haynes. All right. Thank you guys.